After reading a novel about giving birth to 10 babies at once, my sister-in-law insisted on challenging the limits of human reproduction. She found a shady clinic and had 10 fertilized eggs implanted in her ovaries. I told her that not only would she not be able to give birth, but it would also cause immense harm to her body. She obediently gave up. Later, when she could no longer bear children, she locked me up and placed 10 fertilized eggs into my womb. It's all your fault. You owe me 10 genius sons. This caused me to die from a painfully distended belly. I returned to the day my sister-in-law implanted the eggs. This time, sister-in-law, you'd better give birth to your 10 precious genius sons yourself. Sister-in-law, I'm already pregnant with 10 babies. The intense pain in my belly hadn't yet subsided. As soon as I opened my eyes, I met the proud, boastful gaze of my sister-in-law, Song Zhaodi. I had actually come back to the day Song Zhaodi announced the joyous news of her 10-baby pregnancy. Sister-in-law Song Zhaodi came from a remote mountain area and didn't even finish elementary school. Since becoming obsessed with stories about sows giving birth, she couldn't stop, believing she was like the extraordinary heroines in the novels, capable of having multiple babies in one pregnancy, each one a genius. Thus, she resolutely chose to conceive 10 babies for the Zhao family at once, aiming to become a great contributor to the Zhao family. For this purpose, she found a shady hospital from somewhere, paying a high price to have more than 20 ova extracted at once. In my previous life, upon learning that Song Zhaodi had implanted 10 fertilized eggs into her uterus, I informed her, based on scientific evidence, that this would not only harm her body but also exceed the uterus's maximum capacity, potentially leading to uterine rupture due to the excessive number of fetuses. Frightened by my stern advice, she took some abortion pills on her own and terminated the pregnancy. However, this also damaged her uterus, leaving her unable to conceive again. Harboring resentment, she took advantage of my inattention and drugged me and conspired with my mother-in-law and brother-in-law to send me to a black hospital, where they implanted 10 fertilized eggs into my uterus. If you hadn't spread those lies, would I have had to abort my genius baby boys? Since I can't give birth, I'll let my children be born from your womb. And so, my previous life ended with me locked in a room, watching my belly swell like a balloon until it finally burst open, bleeding to death. At this thought, I stroked my flat stomach, lowering my head to hide the hatred in my eyes. I replied lightly, "Congratulations." Upon hearing my congratulations, my sister-in-law was immensely pleased. "So, sister-in-law, you might even need my son to send you off and break the bowl in the future. You'd better take good care of me." After listening, my mother-in-law also agreed and chimed in, "Yes, you're a widow now, and you won't have any children in the future. You must take good care of Zhaodi during this pregnancy. Later, when we adopt one for my poor eldest son, you'll have someone to take care of you in your old age." What a joke! My husband is dead, not me. Am I supposed to remain chaste for him for the rest of my life? However, for now, Song Zhaodi's pregnancy needs to last a bit longer. Thinking of this, I pretended to be humble. "Understood, Mom, the child is the most important. I just don't know if my sister-in-law can handle carrying 10 babies. My doubtful tone immediately set Song Zhaodi off. 10 is nothing, others can carry 15 or 20. "Mom, just wait 10 months, and I'll give the Zhao family 10 big, fat golden grandsons. I hope you keep persevering well and successfully give birth to these 10 precious babies." However, what Zhaodi, the mother-in-law, is most concerned about right now is not this issue. The number of male babies among the 10 births is what she cares about the most. Girls are just useless little girls to her. Having too many pregnancies can also absorb the nutrients meant for her precious grandson, and she wouldn't want that. But this question was also unclear to Song Zhaodi. In fact, it is possible to choose the gender of the child through in vitro fertilization, and hospitals will also seek the opinions of the expectant mothers. However, the hospital that Song Zhaodi found was not a legitimate one, established for the sole purpose of making quick money. In order to make the family spend more money, they prefer to deal with those who have low education and lack common sense. Unfortunately, I am the only one in the family with any common sense. They told Song Zhaodi that test tubes couldn't determine the gender of the baby, all as a setup for the next step of extorting money. Not knowing whether Song Zhaodi was carrying a golden egg or a money-losing burden made Su Dahui somewhat anxious. She grabbed my hand and bossed me around as if it were only natural. "My eldest daughter-in-law, you are a widow, your fate is tough. No matter how many daughters you give birth to in the future, take them to the mountains and bury them. Such an act that harms one's virtue must not affect our Zhao family." She knows it harms one's virtue, yet she still wants me to do it. Am I the fool? No, I won't do it. When my mother-in-law was about to lose her temper, I made a suggestion that would excite her even more. "Oh, Mom, what daughters? It must all be sons. I heard that the hospital you went to is really amazing. They are selling a medicine there that guarantees a male fetus. In my previous life, they made me drink so-called medicine to ensure a male fetus every day, which was actually a neurological drug that made me drowsy and unable to think clearly during early pregnancy." This suggestion excited Song Xiaodi and Su Dahue immensely. All 10 pregnancies were boys. That's a great merit that would make the ancestors' graves smoke with joy. "Yes, eat more of that, boy guaranteeing medicine, to numb your brain a bit. We can't let Song Xiaodi notice something's wrong too soon." The hospital assured them that taking a few doses of the medicine would guarantee a few pregnancies to be boys. Greedy as they were, they quickly brought back 10 doses of medicine from the hospital. Thinking of having 10 sons made Song Xiaodi even more proud. She placed various chicken, fish, and meat dishes in front of herself, but in front of me, there was only a plate of watery greens. "Sister-in-law, you have no children, which is the most lowly state for a woman. We women, this is the only time worth nourishing ourselves, so the children can eat well." Her remarks are so full of flaws that I don't even know where to start. Although Song Xiaodi is a woman, she is a staunch supporter of patriarchy. She believes that women's lives are cheap and that their value is always tied to men and childbearing. She belittles and devalues herself, will link the number of children born to their own worth. Having conceived the most precious 10 golden grandsons for the Zhao family, she has been walking on air recently. She insists on eating only the best and most expensive foods. Her mother-in-law, Su Dahue, has even raised a large flock of free-range chickens, slaughtering 3 a day to nourish Song Xiaodi's body. The Zhao family wasn't exactly wealthy to begin with. The younger brother was spoiled and indulged in drinking, eating, gambling, and other vices, so no one wanted to marry him. He had to go to the mountains to find a family willing to sell their daughter. The family didn't have much money, and besides me, there was no other working labor to earn income. In my previous life, it was me who used my salary to cover the family's expenses, barely managing to keep the household afloat. At this rate, they'll probably deplete the family's savings in no time. It's not my concern. Thinking of this, I raised a fake smile and suggested to Song Xiaodi, "Yes, sister-in-law, a normal person carrying a golden grandson should eat and drink well. You're carrying 10 at once, so you should take even better care of your body. You are the greatest contributor to our family." Song Xiaodi felt that what I said made sense, and she couldn't stop talking even more, either eating or on the way to eat. Her mouth never stopped during her waking hours. In just over 2 weeks of this binge eating, Song Xiaodi had gained nearly 20 pounds. Keep eating, this way you can procrastinate longer, and the child can grow stronger. Soon, Song Xiaodi became so fat that she could barely walk. In just 3.5 months, her belly grew larger, as big as 3 soccer balls. 3.5 months is the size of a normal 10-child pregnancy. The heavy weight in her abdomen made it difficult for her to move. Combined with the effects of the medication, her mental state was also not good. She simply stayed in bed all the time, and even meals had to be brought to her. The nutrition required for 10 children was enormous. At first, Song Xiaodi ate 3 regular meals a day, but later she had to eat 7 or 8 meals a day. "I'm so hungry, Mom, hurry up and cook for me. I want to eat," either eating or on the way to eat. Mother-in-law Su Dahue is almost 70 years old, and for this reason, she gets up early and works late every day to buy groceries, wash vegetables, and cook, never having a moment of rest. Under such high-intensity care, she is also starting to feel overwhelmed. The only precious son at home is idle playing games, yet she can't bear to ask him for help. So I thought of myself as a beast of burden. "Eldest daughter-in-law, from now on you'll be responsible for taking care of your sister-in-law in the evenings. Just get used to it first. With so many kids in the future, things won't get chaotic." Su Dahue's words made me laugh in anger. How is it that I have to work during the day and take care of a pregnant woman at night? I'm even worse off than a beast of burden in the new era. I nodded, indicating that I was very willing to take care of Song Xiaodi and ease the burden on the family. "Okay, Mom, since I don't want to work anyway, it's better for the woman to manage the household. Girls should take care of the home, so, from now on, it'll be up to my brother-in-law to go out and work. I'll call my boss right now to resign." I took out my phone and was about to dial. Su Dahue stopped me, smiling awkwardly. I didn't mean it that way." When my brother-in-law Zhao Yubao heard that I didn't want to work anymore and wanted him to go out and earn money instead, he was so angry that he punched Su Dahue. He almost broke her old bones. After that, he didn't dare bring it up again. After all, Xiao Yubao didn't have the heart to respect the elderly and care for the young, since Su Dahue was getting on in years. His energy was really limited and he couldn't keep an eye on things all the time. Sure enough, it was just a moment of laxity. And Song Zhaodi got into trouble. That day after work, I suddenly received a call from Su Dahue. Your sister-in-law is stuck on the toilet and can't get up, come back and help quickly. When I went back to take a look, I almost died laughing. It turned out that Song Zhaodi had gotten so fat that her heavy weight caused the toilet seat to crack, and her entire butt got stuck in the toilet. My mother-in-law and brother-in-law were trying to pull her out like in a tug-of-war, but Song Zhaodi's fat was wedged too tightly in the toilet, and she was too heavy to be pulled out. After a long struggle, the three of them were drenched in sweat, but they still couldn't get Song Zhaodi out. Due to the loud commotion at home, the neighbor next door noticed and directly called the fire department. When the firefighters arrived, the brother-in-law locked the door halfway and refused to let them in. No way, you firefighters are all men. If you see my wife naked, she won't be pure anymore. After a long tug-of-war with the firefighter, perhaps due to being stuck for too long and having her stomach compressed, Song Zhaodi's complexion had noticeably worsened. My stomach isn't feeling too well, husband, the baby, our 10 sons. Perhaps thinking of his 10 heirs, the brother-in-law reluctantly stepped aside with resentment. There are currently 10 big precious eggs acting as talismans, but I wonder what will happen if they are gone in the future. After all, I, the younger brother-in-law, value female virtue the most. After the firefighters left, Xiao Yubao, the younger brother-in-law, gave Song Zhaodi a look of disgust, but after glancing at her belly, he redirected his anger towards me. Sister-in-law, what's wrong with you? You don't even know to come home on time after work, not adhering to any womanly virtues at all. Such a speech, like a foot-binding cloth, made me laugh in anger. My husband is dead. What womanly virtues do I need to uphold? The Qing dynasty has been over for years. If you were so virtuous in your previous life, how could you have done such things? It seems there are 2 sets of virtues, one for others, and another for yourself. In my previous life, their hands were all stained with my death. I won't let any of them off. Thinking of this, I raised a cold smile. Yes, brother-in-law, today's incident is also my responsibility, but, if it weren't for my sister-in-law being so silly, how could she get stuck in the toilet? I raised a question at the right moment. I feel like my sister-in-law isn't very smart. I heard that kids inherit their intelligence from their parents. With her like this, I wonder if she'll give birth to. I deliberately left it unfinished, letting Xiao Yubao draw his own conclusions, perhaps genuinely worried about giving birth to 10 big fools. Xiao Yubao was also concerned about the quality of these 10 children. It's quite coincidental. A few days ago, I heard someone say that there's a way to alter the parents' genes and give birth to a genius baby. I further convinced him that with 10 intelligent children, he would certainly never worry about food, clothing, or money, which greatly stirred his interest. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yubao was eager to know what the method was. Of course, it's the way to send you to hell. In my previous life, I was locked in a room and once saw a news report about the police in City P dismantling an illegal laboratory on the outskirts of City P, in the Yunling Mountains. There is a group of lunatics. They outwardly operate a temple, but in secret, they conduct illegal human experiments. Because they are highly vigilant, it's difficult to locate their whereabouts. If anyone discovers their secret, these desperados will not let anyone go. However, reporting a temple with a good reputation that engages in charity work every year without any reason could easily alert them. But if Xiao Yubao goes missing, wouldn't that provide a legitimate reason? Having Xiao Yubao expose the gang's traces would also help others, wouldn't it? I told Xiao Yubao that the miraculous thing about this temple is that it connects with the moon god through scientific methods, so if they are willing to help, it can definitely change inferior genes. Coming from a small southern town, Xiao Yubao believes most in these mystical things. He bought it, but that didn't stop him from ordering me around. Then hurry up and get it done. I shook my head, indicating there was nothing I could do. This is something to be prayed for to the gods, and sincerity is most important. The closer the blood relation to a child, the more effective it is. Song Zhaodi's belly was already very large, and she couldn't walk more than a few steps. The closest blood relative would be Xiao Yubao. Thinking about the 10 glorious sons they would have in the future, Xiao Yubao decided to go himself. Brother-in-law, this matter needs to be kept secret. It won't work if too many people know about it. Xiao Yubao waved his hand to show understanding. That night, he rushed to Yunling Mountain. He didn't return home for several consecutive days and couldn't be reached. which made his mother-in-law and the others so anxious that they developed blisters on their lips. After all, for someone who usually stays home all the time, it's rare to be out of contact for several consecutive days. After waiting for several days without any news, Song Zhaodi finally reported it to the police. When the police came to inquire, I told them that Zhao Yubao had gone to Yunling Mountain Temple to worship Buddha. After the police left, Song Zhaodi and her mother-in-law questioned me about why I hadn't told them earlier, let them worry for so many days. That day, I accidentally overheard my brother-in-law saying he wanted to go to Yunling Mountain to pray. He told me to keep it a secret, saying it would only be effective that way. In front of my mother-in-law, I told her that my brother-in-law went so far away all for Song Zhaodi and her child, so if anything happens to Zhao Yubao, it's because of Song Zhaodi. Aren't you supposed to be a loving family, then love and kill each other? Well, as expected, a few days later, the police station brought the unfortunate news. Zhao Yubao was dead. He was drugged and used as a living experimental subject. After suffering for several days, he couldn't endure it and died. The police thus discovered the secret of Yunling Mountain Temple. They promptly dismantled this illegal experimental group and rescued some of the survivors. Upon hearing this shocking and tragic news, Granny Su Dahue fainted on the spot. It took many days to recover, but I watched Song Zhaodi's belly even more closely. Yubao was killed by those beasts for you and the child. You must give birth to the child smoothly. Do you hear me? After all, the child in her belly was the only remaining bloodline of the Zhao family, and I have already found a house. I've been taking some of my things to the new house in batches, little by little. Although the two people at home aren't much of a threat, it's better to avoid direct confrontation just to be safe, to prevent them from being driven to desperate measures. During these past few days of moving things, I've often heard Song Zhaodi vomiting. The pregnancy reactions of a woman carrying 10 children are more intense than those of an average pregnant woman. She was both hungry and craving food, but after eating, she would vomit it out. Her mother-in-law was heartbroken, though not for Song Zhaodi, but out of concern that the baby in her womb might not get enough nutrients, and also out of pity for the wasted chicken and duck meat. For Su Dahue, those still intact pieces of chicken and duck meat were still meat. She directly fished out the still chunky chicken and duck meat from Song Zhaodi's vomit, washed it, and then made soup to give to Song Zhaodi. Mom, why does this soup taste sour? It's not good, I can't drink it. Hearing that Song Zhaodi was still being picky, her mother-in-law forcefully twisted Song Zhaodi's arm. Drink it, if you don't get your nutrition, my precious grandsons still need to eat. You keep vomiting and vomiting, meat isn't cheap. I watched Song Zhaodi force herself to eat the soup and meat despite her nausea and urge to vomit. Song Zhaodi thought she could enjoy herself now that she was pregnant, without considering why she was pregnant in the first place. For the Zhao family, suffering was inevitable. This period of nausea directly caused Song Zhaodi, who had recently gained weight, to lose a significant amount, but her belly appeared even larger. If no one helps her, it's impossible for her to get out of bed on her own. Her huge belly makes it hard for her to breathe, and no matter how she turns or changes positions, she can't find comfort. Even before entering the 4th month of pregnancy, Song Zhaodi has already suffered greatly. I'm really looking forward to seeing what choice Song Zhaodi will make when her own life conflicts with that of her unborn child, by quietly packing up valuable items. Over the past 2 weeks, I finally finished moving everything. Passing by Song Zhaodi's room, her belly was unusually eye-catching. Song Zhaodi was already 4.5 months pregnant. Her belly stretched so thin that under strong light, one could clearly see the forming baby inside, its gentle breathing visible, like a balloon about to burst. I can't imagine how thin my belly has become. What if the fetus starts kicking one day and it explodes directly? I know it will, and it will be extremely painful, with all internal organs displaced, and the entire spine compressed and deformed. A little over a week after I moved into my new house, Song Zhaodi called me. As I expected, it was to ask for money. Eating so lavishly every day, with several months still left until the end of the year, the living expenses I gave earlier have already run out. Transfer me another 10,000 yuan. The family has no money left this month. What a bold demand. Do they think a working person's money just falls from the sky? I replied slowly. All right, sister-in-law, just wait a little longer. How much longer? The family urgently needs money. Hurry up and transfer the money, or else if my good son goes hungry, be careful, he might not be filial to you in the future. Of course, I'm waiting for a pie to fall from the sky. What the hell do I care about a son? I don't even know if I can have one. Song Zhaodi's angry roar came through the phone to my ears. You're crazy. What nonsense are you talking? Do you even know what you're saying? Perhaps she really had laid a golden egg recently, as Song Zhaodi, who used to be timid and submissive, had become arrogant. It seems that her big belly hasn't affected her much yet. Her not-so-smart brain actually gave me a suggestion. She said if I didn't have money, I could borrow from the boss or colleagues, and if I couldn't borrow any, I shouldn't come home anymore, since I've already run away. Of course I don't plan on going back. Oh, sister-in-law, I have poor connections and can't borrow money. Just as Song Zhaodi was about to explode, I hinted to her, but, sister-in-law, you're really naive. Isn't there still a sum of money with our mother? With all the grandsons you've given her, she still isn't willing to take it out and use it. What money? When my husband passed away unexpectedly, we had accidental death insurance, which paid out over 50,000. All that money is with my mother-in-law, who plans to use it for her retirement. She's been keeping it a secret from everyone else. I hope Song Zhaodi doesn't let me down, since I've already given her a new way to make money. A few more days passed, and a gossipy neighbor brought me some news. Ever since I refused to give my mother-in-law and the others living expenses and stopped answering their calls, I had no choice but to cut back on the lavish meals we used to have. Chicken was replaced with eggs, and duck meat was swapped for duck eggs, and each meal was limited to just one. It's hard to go from luxury to frugality, and Song Zhaodi, who had been eating well recently, couldn't take it anymore. With the information I provided, Song Zhaodi secretly took the bank card. If it were only spent on food, the over 50,000 yuan could have lasted quite a while, but since Song Zhaodi took the card, she would rather live poorly herself to subsidize her family. Most of the money was taken by her family, and combined with her own lavish spending, the 50,000 yuan quickly ran out. When her mother-in-law discovered that there was no money left in the bank card, it was already too late, as only a few $100s remained. After arguing with Song Zhaodi's family for several days, not a single cent was recovered, which directly left Su Dahui so furious that she couldn't even get out of bed. Now that no one was cooking at home, and Song Zhaodi was starving quickly, she had no choice but to drag her heavily pregnant body, propping herself up against the wall to slowly stand up. The unusually heavy abdomen made every step Song Zhaodi took feel like it might break her. Song Zhaodi didn't last many days either before the pain became so unbearable that she could no longer get out of bed. Her agonized cries drew the attention of the neighbors. It was only then that the neighbors realized there was a pregnant woman in an abnormal condition here. After lying in bed for several days, Su Dahui was probably afraid that something might really happen to her precious grandson, still managed to recover. It's just that the Zhao family has been having an even harder time these past few days. No money, no income from work, and a pregnant woman who needs to eat 7 or 8 meals a day. With no other choice, Su Dahui had to go to the market to pick up discarded vegetable leaves. Everything was saved for Song Zhaodi to eat, leaving herself emaciated and sallow, but her eyes still burned with fervor, as if as long as her grandson was still there, she could hold on. That day, Song Zhaodi's navel began to bleed. The skin stretched too wide, and blood seeped out from her navel. Mom, why is my navel bleeding? It seems the capillaries on the belly have burst. Su Dahui was so nervous that she immediately called the unlicensed clinic for advice. This is normal, even with multiple pregnancies. It's like this, really. For family members who had no more money to be squeezed, the unlicensed clinic was also growing impatient. Are you the doctor or am I the doctor? I said it's fine, so it's fine. All the symptoms the pregnant woman is experiencing are consistent with a multiple pregnancy. After saying that, he hung up the phone. Since the doctor said everything was normal, Su Dahui no longer worried. Before long, Song Zhaodi was already 5 months pregnant. Now, she was completely unable to get out of bed, and when lying flat, her enormous belly rose to an astonishing height of 1 meter. It was almost the moment of my death in my previous life. The unusually heavy weight made it hard for her to breathe. But that wasn't the most severe symptom. A pregnant woman can intuitively feel the sensation of her belly tearing apart from the inside out, in excruciating agony. As the days went by, Song Zhaodi could no longer hold on. The ever-increasing pain, teetering on the brink of death, terrified her completely. Mom, my stomach hurts so much, I'm going to die. Take me to the hospital. I don't want the baby anymore. No children. That sentence was practically dancing on Su Dahui's biggest pet peeve. Su Dahui's eyes were wild with madness as she gripped Song Zhaodi's arm tightly. No way, I need 10 grandsons. My son died because of you. You have to give birth for me. Seeing that Su Dahui disagreed, Song Zhaodi was in too much pain to bear it. She actually wanted to roll off the bed and hit her own stomach. However, because her stomach was too heavy, she couldn't roll over. This finally made Su Dahue furious. She took the needle and pricked Song Xiaodi's arm repeatedly. She kept pricking her until she begged for mercy. To prevent Song Xiaodi from harming the child while she was away, the nearly 70-year-old woman was actually able to slowly move the nearly 250-kilogram Song Xiaodi to the ground. Su Dahue's face was filled with kindness as he gently touched Song Xiaodi's belly. The fetus was already 5.5 months old. At the lively stage, my precious grandson has such strong strength. He's definitely going to be successful in the future, but every major movement made Song Xiaodi suffer unbearably. Mom, please save me, I'm in so much pain, take me to the hospital, I really can't give birth to so many, please. The doctor said multiple births are like this, don't overreact, others are fine, why are you so delicate? No matter what was said, they refused to take Song Xiaodi to the hospital, fearing she might really terminate the pregnancy. Song Xiaodi's increasingly weak wails over the past few days had frightened the neighbors, fearing that someone might actually die. The neighbors chose to call the police. When everyone rushed into Song Xiaodi's room, they were all stunned by the abnormal size of her belly. She lay on the ground, her face pale, motionless, with only her mouth able to emit faint cries for help. Help me, I can't do this anymore, no. Su Dahue clung tightly to Song Xiaodi, preventing them from taking her away. The 100-gene weight pressed down on Song Xiaodi's stomach, causing the already overstretched abdomen to burst, and blood flowed uncontrollably onto the ground. Su Dahue was completely stunned. My grandson, I had just woken up from a nap when I received a call from the police station, asking me to come in for questioning. Thanks to timely medical treatment, Song Xiaodi didn't die, but her spine, under the pressure of bearing weight for over a month, was crushed, resulting in full paralysis. The organs inside the body also suffered various damages due to the compression. Unsurprisingly, the remaining days would have to be spent in the hospital. This was a huge sum of money, so, as soon as she woke up from surgery, she sued both me and Su Dahue. She claimed that we forced her to carry so many pregnancies, controlled her freedom, and prevented her from seeking timely medical treatment, which led to her body deteriorating to this state. She demanded that both of us be responsible for the rest of her life. I was so angry I laughed. The most shameless person I've ever seen in my life is Song Xiaodi. Turning the tables, I saw my former mother-in-law, Su Dahue, at the police station. Her eyes were vacant, her arms wrapped tightly around a cloth bag, and she kept muttering, my golden grandson, for Su Dahue, who valued the male lineage more than herself. The loss of her son and grandson in her later years was too much to bear, and she finally went mad. The police station was also at a loss when it came to dealing with someone like Su Dahue. She did indeed have control over Song Xiaodi's freedom, and the neighbors could all testify to this. But now, not only is her mental state compromised, but she also has no money to her name, so it was impossible for Song Xiaodi to rely on Su Dahue for care. As for me, after I moved away, Song Xiaodi was still free for a while, and she couldn't accuse me of restricting her personal freedom, but she actually found someone willing to give false testimony for her. When I saw the doctor from the Black Hospital responsible for Song Xiaodi, I didn't know what to say. I haven't even reported them yet, and they dare to come to the police station themselves. Oh dear, there was nothing we could do at our hospital. It was the patient's sister-in-law who insisted we proceed. The patient was forced by her sister-in-law to sign the consent form. That fool Song Xiaodi. It would have been faster to sue the hospital. After all, this counts as a medical malpractice case. Don't dare to go to the hospital, come to me. Does she still think I'm that easy to bully pushover? You say I forced it, where's the evidence? If you want to convict me, it should be you who provides the proof. The doctor from the shady hospital rolled his eyes and shamelessly claimed that he himself was the witness. Even the police officer beside him was left speechless. The police warned the quack doctor that giving false testimony could land him in jail, and he finally shut up with an awkward expression. Song Xiaodi didn't have any concrete evidence, and I had no obligation to support or raise her, so her expectations fell through. Later, I found out that Song Xiaodi's brother had already gone to the hospital to make a scene. After causing a ruckus for a while, the shady hospital agreed to help them, on the condition that they sign a liability waiver. They foolishly signed it, and the previous medical malpractice was no longer the hospital's responsibility. No wonder that shady doctor didn't insist much and just gave up anyway. The disclaimer is already in hand, not afraid of them suing, having gotten nothing. Song Xiaodi's brother didn't want to be a sucker either, so he simply left Song Xiaodi at the hospital and never came back. Song Xiaodi, who owed a large debt to the hospital, was forcibly sent home. When Su Dahue was sober, she would take out her anger on Song Zhaodi. When she was not sober, she would be forgotten in the room for days without food. After living together for some time, this treatment left Song Zhaodi, who was already in poor health, battered and bruised. One day, I suddenly received a strange phone call. "Sister-in-law, can you come to my house? I have something I want to talk to you about." Song Zhaodi's soft and gentle voice on the other end of the phone was completely out of character for her. I declined her invitation to visit, stating that we could discuss whatever was on her mind over the phone. No matter how much Song Zhaodi pleaded, I remained firm in my refusal. She finally couldn't hold back and roared, "I'm already this miserable, why aren't you coming? Aren't you the goody two-shoes? Why, how laughable, why should I save her? It was meddling in her affairs in my previous life that led to such a tragic end. Being a good person also depends on the target, otherwise, it's a thankless task." I sneered disdainfully. "Save you? You're the one courting death. Who can you blame?" There was a pause on the other end. She became even more frenzied. "I had a dream yesterday, in which I was clearly living very well. You should be the one with this ending." "You stole my life," I retorted. "Then why did I have her kind of ending in my dreams?" Song Zhaodi was stunned for a second, then angrily said it was because I meddled in her affairs. So in her view, no matter what happens, regardless of what others choose, it's always someone else's fault. How utterly ridiculous. "Exactly, so I won't meddle anymore." My response confirmed Song Zhaodi's suspicions, and she wished she could reach through the phone to strangle me. "You won't end well, alright, I'm waiting." Song Zhaodi committed suicide and took Su Dahue with her. She was filled with intense hatred for the abuse she had suffered from Su Dahue during this period. Taking advantage of her mental instability, she tricked her into drinking a large bowl of cooking wine, to which Su Dahue was severely allergic. She struggled for several hours, scratching blood-stained marks all over her body, and eventually suffocated to death, and my life returned to normal. On this day, I suddenly received a courier package with my name on it, but I had no idea who the sender was. It was heavy. Upon opening it, I found a stack of books, 12 babies in one birth, each one a genius, my happy life with my 10 identical twins, all sorts of strange stories about sows giving birth. In a daze, I saw myself giving birth to a bunch of children, and with them, my life was rich and fulfilling. It seemed like a voice was constantly echoing in my ears, "Go, have a bunch of children, they will make your life meaningful. No, my value comes from myself, not through children." After waking up, I went straight to a temple and threw that pile of pig-breeding literature into the furnace. No, it seemed as if Song Zhaodi's agonizing screams came from the flames. Finally, those books turned to ashes and gradually dispersed. Without the cage called family, I no longer need to scrimp and save, nor worry about being too far away to care for sick family members. In my spare time, I can also wander around at will. I really can't understand why some people insist on having children, as if a woman's worth is solely defined by her ability to bear children. The world is truly vast, and there are so many delicious foods to enjoy. Enjoying life is a true form of happiness. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. In my previous life, it was on this very day that my roommate publicly read my diary, ruining my reputation. I have been reborn. And now I watch as she secretly records the contents of my diary once again. She stands on the stage, clears her throat, and reads aloud, "I've discovered a secret. My boyfriend is gay, and his true love is our academic advisor." I look at the instantly pale faces of my boyfriend and the advisor in the audience, then close the new diary I had specially prepared for her, feeling quite satisfied. Next, let's invite classmate Lin Wei to share her recent reading insights with us. During the open class, Counselor Wang Jiangwo adjusted his glasses and called her name with a smile. Lin Wei stood up. She was wearing my newly bought dress, with delicate makeup on, but she wasn't holding any book in her hands, only a pink, password-locked diary. My diary. Everyone's gaze was fixed on her, including my boyfriend Chen Zhe. He was sitting next to me, even reaching out to squeeze my palm, giving me a doting smile, as if to say, "Look, how ambitious your roommate is." I smiled back, but my heart was pounding in my chest. It's today, in my previous life, it was today that Lin Wei, with her innocent and concerned tone, publicly read out my diary entries about my self-consciousness over my poor family background. Those most private words were publicly executed by her in a tone of pity. The campus network labeled me as a green tea girl trying to seduce rich second-generation heirs. Finally, I jumped off the rooftop. "Now, I'm back." I looked at Lin Wei, at the familiar, deliberately concerned expression on her face. What I want to share today is not a book, but my roommate Su Qing's diary. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was enough to instantly silence the entire lecture hall. Everyone turned to look at me, shocked, curious, and with undisguised malice, waiting for the drama to unfold. Chenja's smile froze on his face. He looked at Lin Wei in disbelief, then turned to me, lowering his voice. Su Qing, what's going on? I ignored him, just quietly watching Lin Wei on the stage. The real show is just beginning. Lin Wei put on a troubled and heartbroken expression. I know it's wrong to peek at someone else's diary, but I'm just so worried about Su Qing. Her mental state has been really unstable lately, and I'm afraid she might do something drastic. I had to speak up so that everyone, including Teacher Wang and Chenja, can come together to help her. Her words sounded so righteous and noble that some people were already pointing fingers at me. In my previous life, it was these very words that nailed me to the pillar of shame, leaving me unable to defend myself. Lin Wei looked in my direction with satisfaction, then slowly opened that diary. She cleared her throat and, in a tone that suggested she was about to reveal a shocking secret, read aloud. October 12th, Sunny, I discovered a secret. My boyfriend, Chenja. She deliberately paused, building up everyone's anticipation, then, word by word, read out the earth-shattering bombshell I had prepared for her, is gay, and his true love is our counselor, Teacher Wang Jiangwo. Bang, the entire classroom felt as if a bomb had been dropped. Dead silence, a dead silence that lasted over 10 seconds, then came the sudden eruption of murmurs, sharp intakes of breath, and barely suppressed snickers. I clearly saw that Wang Jiangwo, who had been sitting as steady as a rock just a moment before, instantly lost all color in his face. His lips trembled, and he could barely hold on to the thermos cup in his hand, and Chenja beside me looked as if he had been punched in the face, completely stunned. His handsome face first turned deathly pale, then flushed a deep, purplish red. Nonsense, he suddenly stood up, pointing at Lin Wei on the stage, his voice cracking with anger. What the hell are you talking about? Lin Wei was also stunned. This wasn't how the plot was supposed to go. In her mind, she had imagined reading out my self-deprecating and pitiful secret crush. Then everyone would sympathize with her, the saintly friend who had gone to great lengths, and looked down on me, the shabby girl who couldn't even make it onto the stage. But now, the diary in her hands had become a hot potato. I don't know, that's just what was written in the diary, she explained in a panic, her face pale. I was just worried about Su Qing. She must have been triggered by something and started overthinking. Shut up, Chenja showed a ferocious expression to his good sister, Lin Wei. For the first time, he snatched the textbook in front of me and slammed it to the ground, then glared at me fiercely, his eyes seeming to spit fire. Su Qing, explain this clearly. Have you lost your mind? I finally raised my eyes to meet his gaze. I didn't say a word, just slowly closed the new diary I had laid out on the table, the one I had specially prepared for Lin Wei. Then, I smiled. It was a smile of relief, of long-awaited vengeance, a smile that felt utterly liberating. Su Qing, what are you laughing at, you damn? Well, better explain yourself clearly. Chenja was furious and flustered, feeling as if he had been played for a fool, stripped naked in public, and the instigator was still laughing. He reached out to grab my collar, but I firmly seized his wrist. I wasn't as strong as him, but I used a clever technique, digging my nails deep into his pressure points, making him grimace in pain. Chenja, I said softly, my voice not loud but clearly reaching his ears, don't make a fool of yourself here, or everyone might think you're just lashing out in shame. His movements froze. The phrase, lashing out in shame, was like a needle, precisely piercing his most sensitive nerve. At that moment, the eyes of the entire class were like spotlights shining on us, filled with curiosity and gossip. Wang Jiangwo had already snapped back to his senses, his face turned ashen as he slammed the table with force. Enough, all of you, quiet down. After all, he was still the teacher, and his authority remained intact. The classroom instantly fell silent. He stared at me with a deathly glare, his eyes so sinister they seemed ready to devour me. Student Su Qing, please explain what exactly is going on here. Why would you write such absurd things, maliciously slandering your boyfriend and your teacher? He had already labeled everything as my malicious slander. On stage, Lin Wei also immediately found her backbone, her eyes reddened, and with a tearful voice, she chimed in, yes, Teacher Wang. Su Qing must have misunderstood something. Su Qing, hurry up and explain to everyone, tell them that you just wrote this nonsense, right? As she spoke, she kept winking at me, looking as if she genuinely had my best interests at heart. What a performance! In my past life, I was also pressured by their coordinated act, forced to admit that I had psychological issues, loved to fantasize, and wronged good people. But now, I am Neohuru Suching. I slowly stood up, calmly sweeping my gaze over the three of them. Finally, my eyes settled on Chenja. Chenja, where were you at 9 o'clock last Wednesday night? Chenja was taken aback, a flicker of panic flashing in his eyes. I was studying at the library. Didn't you know that? Is that so? I smiled faintly. But how come I remember someone saying they saw you having dinner with the department beauty from the foreign languages department at the Rosemary Western restaurant outside the east gate of the school? Chenja's face paled once again. You were following me. I don't have the leisure for that, I said to him, word by word. It was her boyfriend who told me. Another small wave of murmurs rippled through the crowd. Cheating, and then being confronted by the actual boyfriend. The implications were huge. Chenja's lips moved, but not a single word came out. I turned to Wang Jiangwo again. Teacher Wang, you said I slandered you. Then, may I ask, for this outstanding student selection, why was my comprehensive evaluation clearly ranked first in the major, but in the final submitted list, it became Liu, who was second? Wang Jiangwo's expression also changed. This is the result of the college's comprehensive evaluation, and it is open and transparent. Is that so? I took out my phone from my backpack and played a recording. That's what I secretly recorded when I went to his office yesterday to ask about this. In the recording, Wang Jiangwo's voice came through clearly. Su Qing, your grades are excellent, but the evaluation for excellence isn't just about grades. Liu's family is in a more difficult situation, and this opportunity is more important to her. You should learn to be understanding. Besides, your boyfriend Chenja comes from such a well-off family. It's not like you need this scholarship, right? I turned off the recording and looked at his instantly ashen face. Teacher Wang, so the evaluation for excellence isn't based on grades, but on who's poorer and who's richer. I only learned that today. Wang Jiangwo's body swayed. Almost unable to stand steady, he used the bribe money to buy himself a new car, yet he righteously told me to understand others. As for that Liu, her father runs a company. On the first day of school, she arrived in a Porsche to register, even wealthier than Chenja's family. This line of reasoning is nothing more than an excuse he used to brush me off. As for the evidence of his bribery, I don't have it yet, but there's no rush. I'll take my time. Now, everyone understands my boyfriend cheated, and my performance evaluation was sabotaged. The diary I wrote wasn't baseless imagination, but revenge. It was a premeditated, mutually destructive revenge, aimed at dragging down everyone who had ever hurt me. The classroom fell into dead silence. Everyone looked at me with a new expression, a mix of sympathy, fear, and a hint of excitement. Only Lin Wei, seeing everyone's reaction and the completely out-of-control situation, turned deathly pale. She finally realized that what she had stolen was not a diary, but a bomb she had personally detonated, and she was the one closest to the bomb. No, it can't be like this, she murmured, her face as pale as paper. Su Qing, how could you become like this? I looked at her and smiled. What have I become? Have I become less easy to bully? I walked step by step up to the podium and took my diary back from her stunned hands. Then, in front of the whole class, I threw it into the trash can. Some trash belongs in the trash can, I said. It's unclear whether he's talking about the diary or certain people. The bell signaling the end of class rang out sharply, like a gospel of salvation for all. Wang Jiangwo practically fled the classroom, even forgetting to take his lesson plan. Chenja didn't leave. He stared at me fiercely, as if trying to bore two holes through me. The students began to leave in twos and threes, instinctively avoiding me as they passed. Their expressions complex. There was sympathy, disdain, and even a hint of schadenfreude. I didn't care. Lin Wei remained frozen on the podium, her face alternating between pale and flushed, clearly still reeling from the shock. I packed my things and prepared to leave. Su Qing, you stop right there, Chenja finally snapped. He rushed over in a few steps, blocking my way, suppressing his anger as his voice hissed through clenched teeth. What exactly are you trying to do? What good does it do you to ruin me and ruin Teacher Wang? Even now, all he cares about is his own reputation and Wang Jiangwo's. The benefit is that I'm happy. I looked at him, calmly stating the fact. You, Chenja's chest heaved violently with anger. Just because I made that one mistake, you're taking revenge on me like this? How can your heart be so cruel? One mistake? I sounded as if I had heard the biggest joke. Chenja, do you remember when you were a freshman and you pursued me, bringing me breakfast for a month? He was taken aback, not understanding why I suddenly brought this up. I remember. Then do you remember how Lin Wei always whispered in my ear that boys all like gentle and considerate girls, telling me not to reject you, saying you were a rare good man? Chenja's expression softened a bit. Xiao Wei, she really has always supported us. Yes, I nodded. After that, whenever we argued, Lin Wei would urge me to be more tolerant. When you played games and didn't reply to my messages, she said boys need their own space. When you flirted with other girls, she said they were just ordinary friends. When you forgot my birthday, she said you were busy with your studies and asked me to be understanding. My voice was calm, yet it made Chenja's expression grow increasingly unpleasant. On your birthday, she reminded me to buy your favorite perfume. When I was sick, she was more anxious than I was, pulling you along to take me to the hospital. With every word I spoke, Chenja's arrogance diminished a little, because Lin Wei was the eternal peacemaker and best assistant in our relationship. So, I looked at him, and at Lin Wei, whose face was deathly pale not far away. One helps you find excuses for your affair, the other helps you build a devoted persona in front of me. You two really work well together, don't you? Chenja was completely speechless. As for Lin Wei, her entire body was trembling. I walked past the stunned Chenja and approached Lin Wei. She instinctively took a step back, as if looking at a monster. Lin Wei, I called her name. Do you know, in my past life, you did the same thing, holding my diary, saying you wanted to help me. Her pupils suddenly contracted. What past life? The result of your help was that everyone thought I was insane, and in the end, I jumped from here. I pointed out the window. Lin Wei's face turned as white as a ghost in an instant. You're talking nonsense. You're crazy. You're really crazy, she screamed, like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. Whether I'm crazy or not isn't important. I leaned in close to her, speaking in a voice only the two of us could hear. What matters is that now everyone knows Chen Zhe is a cheating scumbag, and Wang Jiangwo is a hypocrite who abuses his power for personal gain. And you, I said, looking into her terrified eyes, word by word, are the great whistleblower who exposed their dirty deeds to the public. With that, I stopped looking at her and walked straight out of the classroom. Behind me were Chen Zhe's furious roars and Lin Wei's sobbing cries of despair. I knew this was only the beginning. They would not let this go easily. Sure enough, that very afternoon, a post exploded on the school forum. The title read, "A heart-wrenching accusation. Su Qing, a senior student in the College of Agriculture, suffers from delusions due to emotional issues, maliciously slanders her boyfriend and advisor. My friend, how can I save you?" The poster was Lin Wei. In the post, Lin Wei described the entire truth of the matter in a tone filled with sorrow and helplessness. She said, "I've always been insecure and sensitive, and after getting into a relationship with Chen Zhe, I became even more anxious and possessive." She said, "My mental state has been very poor lately, often talking to myself in the air and suspecting Chen Zhe of cheating." She said she read my diary out of concern, wanting to understand my true thoughts so she could guide me. As for the content in the diary, she insisted with certainty that it was all my imagination. She claimed that after failing to get a good evaluation and having conflicts with Chen Zhe, I shifted all the blame onto others and fabricated this whole gay drama. In my mind, she portrayed herself as a kind, innocent, and saintly figure who was utterly exhausted for the sake of her friends. Meanwhile, I became a deranged lunatic, twisted by love and hatred. The tone in the comments quickly shifted. Damn, so that gay guy's diary was fake. It was all made up by this Su Qing. It's terrifying to think about. How dark must this girl's mind be to come up with such a plot? I feel so sorry for her roommate. She really ran into a lunatic, treating kindness as if it were worthless. Chen Zhe and Teacher Wang are so unlucky, getting smeared with dirt for no reason at all. I knew it. Teacher Wang is such a good person. How could he possibly? Wang Jiangwo quickly responded under the post with his real name, his tone heavy. As Su Qing's class counselor, I bear an undeniable responsibility for the recent changes in her mental state. I did not care enough. Please stop attacking her and give her some space. The college will arrange for a psychological counselor to provide her with guidance. His words, seemingly tolerant and magnanimous, actually directly labeled me as having psychological issues. Chen Zhe also followed up with a reply, "Thank you for your concern, and thank you, Xiao Wei. No matter what Su Qing becomes, she is someone I once loved. I will stay by her side until she recovers." What a touching performance of deep affection, unwavering and steadfast, the three of them, one playing the saint, one acting the compassionate mentor, and one pretending to be the romantic hero. Instantly, they turned the tide of public opinion. I became the sole, unreasonable villain who needed to be saved. This was their counterattack, swift, precise, and vicious. They nailed me to the cross of madness. Rendering all my defenses pale and powerless, my phone was bombarded with calls and messages, some classmates hurling insults, others urging me to seek help early. I couldn't even return to my dorm. Lin Wei had locked the door from the inside. Standing outside, I could clearly hear her sobbing on the phone, saying how terrified she was of me and how she feared I might harm her. I was completely isolated, but this time, as I looked at the unsightly comments on my phone, I felt no anger, only a cold, icy calm. I stood outside the dormitory door for a moment, then turned and calmly walked toward a print shop off campus. Half an hour later, another post appeared on the school forum. No tearful accusations, no lengthy justifications, just a photo and an audio clip. The photo was a candid shot of Chen-ja kissing the foreign language department's beauty queen in a Western restaurant, taken from a clear angle that even showed the mole on his face distinctly. The audio was a recording from when I confronted him about his infidelity, where he personally admitted it and begged for my forgiveness. Ching, I was wrong. I was just blinded for a moment. I was just fooling around with her. The only one I love is you. Can you give me another chance? The title of the post was simple, just one sentence. Who is the crazy one? Who is lying? Within less than 10 minutes of the post being published, the forum exploded. Comments that were previously cursing me and sympathizing with Chen-ja instantly took a 180-degree turn. Holy shit, what a shocking reversal. So Chen-ja really did cheat. This recording, these photos, it's absolutely undeniable. So Su Qing's diary wasn't delusional. She took revenge because she caught her boyfriend cheating. I knew it. There's no smoke without fire. Now it seems Chen-ja and that Lin Wei are in cahoots, right? One cheats, the other helps cover it up, and now they're turning around to call the woman crazy. That's disgusting. My face hurts now for ever feeling sorry for Chen-ja before. Scumbag, go to hell. The fire of public opinion has turned back on them, burning even more fiercely than before. I can imagine the expressions on Chen-ja and Lin Wei's faces when they see the post. I leaned against the wall outside the print shop, watching the comments constantly refreshing on my phone screen, and slowly let out a heavy sigh. This was just the appetizer. The real war is only just beginning. The next day, Wang Jiangwo called me into his office. This time, there was no pretense or politeness from before. He closed the door, his face so dark it seemed like water could drip from it. Su Qing, he got straight to the point. What exactly do you want? I pulled out the chair opposite him, sat down, and looked at him calmly. That's exactly what I should be asking you, Teacher Wang. What exactly do you want? Are you only satisfied when you've driven me to my death? He was taken aback by my words, his eyes flickering. I don't know what you're talking about. Everything I did was for your own good. For the reputation of the school, for the reputation of the school. You can sell my spot for the Excellence Award to Li Yu. I asked directly. Wang Jiangwo's face instantly turned pale. You're talking nonsense. What evidence do you have? I don't have any at the moment, I admitted frankly, then shifted the tone. But, Teacher Wang, guess what? If I go to the Education Bureau and file a real name report, accusing you of using your position to accept bribes from students' parents, do you think the higher-ups will believe a crazy student who has nothing to lose and is willing to risk everything, or will they believe you, this innocent and upright, good teacher? I was gambling that he was guilty. Sure enough, cold sweat broke out on Wang Jiangwo's forehead. He stared at me intently, as if trying to find a flaw in my expression. Are you threatening me? No. I shook my head. I'm negotiating with you. What conditions? It's very simple. I extended one finger. First, return the outstanding student nomination to me. Second, immediately stop all suppression and slander against me. And third, have Chen-ja and Lin Wei publicly apologize to me in front of the entire faculty and student body. Wang Jiangwo laughed angrily. Su Qing, have you really lost your mind? Who do you think you are? What gives you the right to negotiate with me? Because, I stood up, walked over to him, leaned down to look at him, and said word by word, I'm not afraid of being ruined, but you are. After saying that, I no longer looked at his face, twisted with anger and fear, and turned to walk out of the office. No, he will compromise, because people like him value their reputation and future prospects the most. As for me, I've already died once. Those with nothing to lose never fear those with everything to lose. Wang Jiangwo was more composed than I had imagined. For 3 consecutive days, he made no move. The rumors about me at school did not cease. I became the goddess of revenge and the femme fatale in everyone's eyes. Some respect me, some fear me, but most point fingers behind my back. Lin Wei hasn't been attending classes these past few days. I heard she told her family that I triggered her into a nervous breakdown, and she needs to rest. Chen Jie is even more ashamed to show his face, locking himself in his dorm room all day. Everything seems to have reached a deadlock, but I know, this is just the calm before the storm. Wang Jiangwo must be thinking of a countermeasure. He won't give in easily, and I, too, need to find the most crucial evidence for my next plan, evidence of Li Yu's bribery. In my previous life, I never knew about this until the day I died. After being reborn, it was only while piecing together the fragments of my past life's memories that I suddenly remembered. Not long after my death, I heard that Wang Jiangwo was investigated for economic issues, and the cause seemed to be a report from a certain graduate. Combined with the fact that he gave my spot to Li Yu without any explanation this time, I'm almost certain the problem lies right here, but I have no evidence. The recording can only prove his procedural unfairness, but it cannot prove that he accepted bribes. I must find that breakthrough. I began deliberately getting close to Li Yu. Li Yu is a very quiet girl who usually doesn't fit in well with others. Her grades are above average, but it's an open secret in the class that she comes from a wealthy family. I found an opportunity to bump into her at the library. I didn't bring up the evaluation for excellence, just chatted with her about some course-related questions. Li Yu seemed a bit guarded around me, always speaking cautiously. I wasn't in a hurry either, chatting with her casually, and then brought it up as if by accident. Have you seen what's been happening on the school forum lately? Li Yu's body visibly stiffened for a moment, then she shook her head. No, I didn't really watch it. You should still take a look. It's quite thrilling. I smiled, but it's also quite tragic. Someone who earned first place on their own merit ended up being pushed to such a state. After saying this, I stood up and left, leaving Li Yu sitting there alone, her expression shifting uncertainly. I didn't force her, I simply planted a seed of doubt and fear in her heart. Wang Jiangwo could sell my spot for money, and in the future, he could also push her, the briber, out as a scapegoat to save himself. Smart people know how to weigh the pros and cons. As for me, I only need to wait. While waiting, I haven't been idle either. I've always had a doubt about Chen Zhe's affair. In my previous life, he also had an affair, but the other person was just an ordinary junior student. In this life, to get revenge, I deliberately wrote him and Wang Jiangwo as a couple in my diary. But now, thinking about it calmly, something just doesn't feel right. Although Chen Zhe is a scumbag, he is extremely concerned about his reputation and somewhat homophobic. Why, after I wrote that diary, did he react with such a hysterical anger, as if I had hit a nerve? It was as if my absurd lie had inadvertently touched upon some truth they were desperately trying to conceal. With this question in mind, I began to secretly observe Chen Zhe. He had been staying indoors these past few days, but every night around 10 o'clock, he would sneak out of the dormitory. I quietly followed him. He didn't go far, heading instead to the abandoned basketball court behind the school. The lighting there was dim, and it was usually a place few people visited. I hid behind the distant bushes and saw Chen Zhe walk to the basketball hoop, seemingly waiting for someone. Soon, another figure appeared. It wasn't Wang Jiangwo, nor was it some girl I didn't know. The figure was tall, wearing a tracksuit and a baseball cap, making it hard to see their face. He walked up to Chen Zhe and, quite naturally, reached out to wrap an arm around his shoulders. Then, he took off his hat. Under the dim streetlight, I could clearly see his face. In that instant, it felt as if all the blood in my body had frozen. It's Chen Yang, Chen Zhe's first cousin. He also attends our school, one grade below us, and the two have always been very close, often playing basketball and eating together. I always thought they were just deeply bonded as brothers, but now, in the deserted corner, Chen Yang put his arm around Chen Zhe's shoulder and whispered something into his ear. Chen Zhe didn't resist. Instead, he leaned into him obediently. The posture was so intimate, it didn't seem like that of brothers. What sent chills down my spine even more was that Chen Yang looked up and glanced in the direction where I was hiding. That gaze was cold, sharp, with a hint of playful amusement. He spotted me long ago. I felt a chill shoot from the soles of my feet straight to the crown of my head. The diary I wrote is fake, but Chen Zhe is real. He really likes men. It's just that the person isn't Wang Jiangwo, but his own cousin. I finally understood why Chen Zhe reacted so intensely, because my seemingly absurd lie was like a key that almost opened the dirtiest, most unspeakable cabinet in their family, I practically fled back to the dormitory. My heart was pounding wildly in my chest, and my back felt icy cold. Chen Yang's final gaze lingered in my mind like a nightmare. It wasn't the kind of look an ordinary college student should have, it was the look of a hunter who had spotted its prey, determined and confident. I slumped in the chair, trying to steady my breathing. The situation was far more complicated and far more sordid than I had imagined. Incest, homosexuality, either one of these would be enough to completely ruin the Chen family, a clan that placed immense importance on reputation. No wonder they attacked me so frantically, trying to brand me as a madman, because only the words of a madman would be believed by no one. What should we do now? Expose this matter? No. I have no substantial evidence in my hands, merely seeing them standing together proves nothing. Acting rashly would only give them a chance to turn the tables on me, accusing me of failing to spread rumors about Wang Jiangwo last time and now starting to spread rumors about his cousin. By then, I would truly become a madman with no way to defend myself. I must stay calm. I need an opportunity, a chance to capture decisive evidence, and that opportunity soon arrived. 2 days later, Liu reached out to me on her own. She arranged to meet me at a cafe off campus, looking haggard with heavy dark circles under her eyes. Su Qing, she got straight to the point. What did you mean by what you said last time? I knew that the seed in her heart had already begun to sprout. Nothing much, I said, stirring the coffee in front of me calmly. I just think Wang Jiangwo is unreliable. Li Yu's lips twitched, and she couldn't hold back in the end. He came to see me. Oh, he asked me to give him another sum of money. Li Yu's voice trembled. He said he's been overwhelmed by the trouble you've caused him lately and needs money to smooth things over and settle this matter. Otherwise, if it really gets investigated, both of us will be finished. I sneered inwardly. Smoothing things over was just an excuse. Taking the chance to extort more money was the real goal. Wang Jiangwo saw that Li Yu's family was wealthy and had leverage over her, wanting to use her as his personal ATM. What did you say? I asked. I didn't agree. Li Yu clenched her hands. I'm afraid this is a bottomless pit. Su Qing, I don't want to go on like this anymore. Do you have some kind of plan? She finally asked the question. I looked up and gazed at her. Li Yu, I need you to do me a favor. Friday afternoon was Wang Jiangwo's specialized class. Before class, Li Yu, following our plan, accidentally dropped an envelope near Wang Jiangwo's podium. The envelope was thick, containing a stack of brand new 100 yuan bills. Of course, they were fake. I bought them as props online. During class, Wang Jiangwo spotted the envelope at a glance. He froze for a moment, then calmly covered it with his lesson plan. The entire process lasted only a few seconds, but the fleeting greed and glee in his eyes were clearly visible to me. After class, he didn't leave immediately. Instead, he waited until all the students had gone before quickly slipping the envelope into his briefcase. Then, as usual, he locked the door and left the teaching building. As for me, I took out my phone and dialed Chenja's number. Before blocking him, I memorized his number. The phone rang for a long time before it was answered, and Chenja's voice sounded impatient. Who is this? It's me, Su Qing. There was silence on the other end of the line. Chenja, I got straight to the point. I want to talk to you, about you and your cousin Chen Yang. What the hell are you talking about? Chenja's voice instantly changed tone. Su Qing, don't you dare slander me. Whether I'm slandering you or not, you know the truth in your heart, I said coldly. Half an hour from now, at the abandoned basketball court behind the school, come alone. If you don't show up, you'll face the consequences. With that, I hung up the phone directly. I knew he would definitely come. Then, I sent an anonymous text message to Chen Yang. Want to know your cousin's secret? Come to the abandoned basketball court. There's a good show to watch. Finally, I looked at Li Yu, who had been by my side all along. She was so nervous that her palms were sweating. Su Qing, really? Are we really going to do this? I nodded and handed her a miniature camera. Li Yu, this is our last chance. The night was like a huge black cloth, enveloping the entire campus. The dim streetlights in the abandoned basketball court resembled the eyes of wandering ghosts, flickering with an eerie glow. Li Yu and I had hidden ourselves in advance behind that familiar thicket of trees. This is the best observation point, both concealed and offering a full view of the entire basketball court. I set up my own phone and turned on the recording mode. Li Yu was also nervously adjusting the miniature camera in her hand. Soon, Chenja arrived. He was alone, looking flustered, like a startled bird, constantly glancing around. Su Qing, come out here, he whispered urgently. What exactly do you want? I didn't make a sound. I was waiting for the other protagonist to make an entrance. Not long after, Chen Yang's figure also appeared. He still had that leisurely and carefree look, with his hands in his pockets, strolling over slowly. When he saw that Chen Zhe was the only one on the basketball court, he raised an eyebrow. Bro, what are you doing here so late? Chen Zhe saw him and turned as pale as a ghost. Xiao Yang, what are you doing here? Got an interesting text message, so I came to check it out. Chen Yang's gaze swept around before finally settling on Chen Zhe, a playful smile curling at the corner of his mouth. Bro, you seem really nervous. What did that woman say to you? Chen Zhe's lips trembled, unable to speak. Let me guess. Chen Yang stepped closer to him, a hint of cruel amusement in his voice. Did she find out about us? Chen Zhe's body trembled violently. No, she didn't. She knows nothing. He almost shouted. Xiao Yang, listen to me. We can't keep going like this. What are we? Chen Yang interrupted, reaching out to grip his chin and forcing him to look into his eyes. Cousins, or lovers? His voice was filled with temptation. Chen Zhe's eyes were filled with pain and struggle, but his body offered no resistance at all. Brother, have you forgotten how you begged me back then? Chen Yang leaned close to his ear, whispering something only the two of them could hear. I couldn't make out the words, but I could see Chen Zhe's face turn from pale to deathly white. In the end, as if all his strength had been drained, he closed his eyes in despair. Chen Yang smiled. He looked at his masterpiece with satisfaction, then raised his hand as if to embrace Chen Zhe. Now's the chance. I gave a meaningful glance to Li Yu beside me. Li Yu understood, took a deep breath, and suddenly rushed out from behind the bushes. Teacher Wang, she shouted while running. This, Teacher Wang, was the code phrase we had agreed upon. The two people on the basketball court were startled at the same time and immediately looked over in this direction, and just at the moment they were distracted, a dark figure silently approached from the darkness on the other side, quickly picked up the briefcase. Wang Jiangwo had left there, and then vanished into the night. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. By the time Chen Zhe and Chen Yang realized what was happening, they only saw Li Yu running over alone, panting heavily and looking panicked. What happened? Chen Zhe asked sharply. I think I saw Teacher Wang. Li Yu pointed towards where we were hiding, gasping for breath as she spoke. He was just over here, acting all sneaky. As soon as I called out, he ran off. This was the second step of our plan. Frame. Wang Jiangwo, Chen Zhe and Chen Yang exchanged a glance, both seeing the shock and uncertainty in each other's eyes. Meanwhile, I had quietly put away my phone and left the scene. In my hands, I now held their most fatal leverage. On the other side, the person who took Wang Jiangwo's briefcase had also delivered the items to the location I specified. Inside the briefcase, there was not only the envelope filled with counterfeit money but also an account book. It meticulously records every bribe he has accepted since becoming a counselor. Date, name, amount. Each entry is shocking. Wang Jiangwo, you're finished. I sent the account books and the recorded videos, along with photos of Chen Zhe's infidelity, the recording of Wang Jiangwo telling me to be understanding, and the matters involving Chen Zhe and his cousin. Using an anonymous email, I sent them to 3 people: the principal of our school, the secretary of the Discipline Inspection Commission at the Municipal Education Bureau, and also Chen Zhe's grandfather, who holds a not too big, not too small position in the provincial government and values face the most. After finishing all of this, I let out a long sigh of relief. I threw out all the bombs. Now, all I need to do is quietly wait for a grand explosion. Soon after, the exact same content appeared on the campus network. Wang Jiangwo's bribery ledger was photographed page by page in high definition, with every entry clearly visible. His transfer records with Li Yu's father, the recording of him asking me to be understanding, photos and audio recordings of Chen Zhe's affair, news video of Chen Zhe's mother causing a scene, and that 5-minute, high-definition, uncut video of Chen Zhe and Chen Yang's intimate conversation in the abandoned basketball court. The entire school has gone completely mad. If the previous incidents were merely gossip and emotional disputes among students, then now, it's a super earthquake sweeping through the entire school. Corruption, affairs, and scandal. Every single word is enough to send the audience's adrenaline soaring. Holy shit, what the hell am I seeing? Wang Jiangwo actually embezzled this much money. That Li Yu, her dad, actually gave 200,000, just for an outstanding student spot. Chen Zhe, he actually, with his cousin. Ugh, my eyes, my worldview. Now I finally understand why his family reacted so strongly. If this got exposed, the whole family would be finished. Right, so, from start to finish, Su Qing was telling the truth. She's not crazy, she's the only victim my ass. This is the queen of revenge. she took on everyone single-handedly, so damn impressive. Public opinion has completely reversed. I have become, in the eyes of everyone, the god who wields the hammer of Thor, judging all sins. Wang Jiangwo, Chen Zhe, Lin Wei, Li Yu, and the Chen family, on the other hand, have been nailed to the pillar of shame, never to rise again. Know this is the principal's ruthless move to protect himself. With such a major scandal, he must use the fastest speed and the most resolute attitude to quell public opinion and restore the school's reputation, and I was the sharpest blade he ever wielded. I was looking at my phone when a sudden commotion erupted at the classroom door. It was Chen Zhe. He burst in, looking completely unhinged, eyes bloodshot, hair disheveled. He didn't look at anyone else, but stared at me intently. Su Qing, he roared, like a wounded beast. Was it you? Was it you who did it? I calmly put away my phone and looked at him. It was me. Receiving the affirmative answer, Chen Zhe seemed to have all his strength drained away. He staggered back 2 steps, then suddenly lunged at me like a madman. I'll kill you, you bitch. You've ruined me. You've ruined my whole family. His face was twisted and ferocious, as if he had gone insane. The surrounding classmates screamed in terror and scattered. I didn't hide. Just as his hand was about to touch me, several uniformed security guards rushed in from outside the door and pinned him firmly to the ground. The principal and the college secretary followed them in, their faces pale with anger. Take him away, the principal shouted sternly. Chen Zhe was still struggling frantically, cursing me non-stop. I watched as he was dragged away like a dead dog, feeling no emotion in my heart. In my past life, I had also been that desperate, that frantic, but back then, no one came to save me. The principal walked up to me with a complicated expression. Su Qing, the school deeply apologizes for everything you've been through. Rest assured, the school will definitely give you justice. I looked at him and nodded. Thank you, principal. What I've always wanted was never anyone's apology. What I want is for them to receive the punishment they deserve, and now, everything has just begun. Chen Zhe has been suspended from school. I heard that after he was taken home, his grandfather was so angry that he had a heart attack on the spot and was rushed to the emergency room. The Chen family was thrown into complete chaos. Chen Zhe's mother couldn't handle the shock and suffered a mental breakdown, eventually being sent to a sanatorium. Wang Jiangwo, due to the enormous amount of money involved in the case, has been formally arrested and now faces a long prison sentence. Li Yu also received a major disciplinary demerit, and Lin Wei, the mastermind who had been hiding behind the scenes, playing the role of the saintly White Lotus, ultimately could not escape either. The school gave her the punishment of expulsion on the grounds of serious misconduct and poor character. I ran into her downstairs at the dormitory. She was dragging her suitcase, looking haggard and withered, with none of her former refinement in sight. Seeing me, she seemed to have found a lifeline, rushing over frantically to grab my arm. Su Qing, help me. Go tell the school that this is all a misunderstanding. You can't do this to me. Her nails dug into me painfully. I looked at her coldly. Lin Wei, do you remember, in my past life, I begged you just like this. She froze. I begged you to tell everyone that you stole the diary and twisted its contents, but what did you do? I shook off her hand and asked, word by word, in front of everyone, you said I was mentally unstable, that I was repaying kindness with ingratitude. Lin Wei's face turned as pale as paper. Su Qing, we are best friends, she cried. How could you be so heartless, friend? I laughed. A friend who snooped through my diary, exposed my privacy, and after I died, calmly wore my clothes, used my things, and even stole my boyfriend. Yes, in my previous life, not long after I died, Lin Wei and Chen Zhe got together. This was something I only dug up from the corners of my memory after I was reborn. It turns out that everything she did wasn't just to laugh at me, it was to replace me. Lin Wei's pupils suddenly contracted. She looked at me in disbelief, as if seeing a ghost. How could you know? If you don't want others to know, don't do it. I looked at her, my eyes devoid of any warmth. Lin Wei, you were never my friend, you were just a despicable thief lurking by my side. After saying that, I ignored her hysterical cries and went straight upstairs. Back at the dorm, I packed all my belongings into my suitcase. This place, filled with nightmares and filth, was somewhere I didn't want to stay for another second. The school had arranged a new dorm for me, a single room, clean and bright. The previously revoked outstanding student title and scholarship were also reinstated under my name. The principal personally spoke with me, hoping I would remain silent externally and no longer accept any media interviews. I agreed, because my revenge was already complete. Those who had hurt me had already fallen into the hell they had dug with their own hands. I have no interest in watching them struggle and rot inside. I only want to live my new, reborn life well. On graduation day, the weather was beautiful. As an outstanding graduate representative, I stood at the podium to deliver my speech, wearing my graduation gown. Looking at the young and vibrant faces in the audience, I felt a momentary daze. It was as if the girl from my previous life, who had jumped from the rooftop, was just a distant nightmare. After finishing my speech, I walked off the stage and saw an unexpected person, Chen Yang. He had lost a lot of weight, with a trace of lingering gloom between his brows, but his gaze was calm when he looked at me. "Congratulations," he said. I nodded without saying a word. "My brother, he has already gone abroad." Chen Yang paused, then added, "Perhaps he will never return." "Oh, Su Qing," he looked at me and suddenly asked, "Did you know from the very beginning?" I knew what he was asking. I shook my head. I didn't know. I was just luckier. The lie I made up happened to stumble upon his real secret. This is probably fate. Chen Yang smiled self-deprecatingly. "Yes, luck. Our Chen family just has terrible luck." After saying that, he didn't linger any longer. He turned around and disappeared into the crowd. Looking desolate, I watched his retreating figure, feeling nothing inside. I am neither a savior nor a judge. I am merely an avenger who crawled back from the depths of hell. Now, with my vengeance fulfilled and all debts settled, my future lies wide open before me. Holding my diploma, I stepped out of the school gates. The sun shines on me, warm and cozy. I see someone waiting for me across the street. It's Li Yu. She graduated today too. Seeing me, she gives me a sincere smile. "Su Qing, let's go grab a meal together, to celebrate our new beginnings." I smiled and nodded. "Sure." We walked side by side on the bustling street, chatting about our future jobs, funny stories about renting apartments, and the latest movies, just like two ordinary girls, about to step into society, filled with hope for the future. No one ever brought up those unsavory people and events from the past again. We all knew that the darkness was behind us. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.